Hi, this is Bob Simon and welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn how to do aggregation. Aggregation is nothing more than taking a bunch of detail records and turning them into more compact summary records. It's very similar to what you do when you take a detail table in Excel and put a pivot table on top of it. And because it's very similar to that, we're actually going to start in Excel. So I've exported a list of stock prices for each month for Apple and Google. I did not restrict it to any year, so it's just a straight dump of all the open, high, low, close prices by month for Apple and Google. You can see here we've got about 122 records. So if we want to use aggregation in Excel, most of us already know how to do it. We're just going to highlight the records. We're going to insert a pivot table. We are going to put it out into a new tab. And let's say in this pivot table, we want to summarize the highest high price and the lowest low price for each stock symbol over the entire duration of the 5 years that we have in our data set. So all we're going to do is, we're going to take the symbol and we're going to put it into the rows. We're going to take the low, we're going to put it into the values, and we are going to set that to the minimum value. Then we're going to take the high price, we're going to put it next to the low price, and we are going to set that to the maximum value. So voila, we just did aggregation. SQL is very simple, just like it is in Excel. We are going to replicate these results using SQL. So first, let's go through and just kind of revisit what we have here. So in this pivot table navigator here, you have under the rows, we dragged the symbol column into the rows shelf or rows pane or whatever you want to call it. Then we took the values that we want to aggregate and summarize and we put them into the values shelf or pane. Then we set the minimum for the low and the maximum for the high. So we're going to do the exact same thing in SQL. So let's go do it. Let's open up a new SQL editor. You'll notice my screen is flipped now. I realized as I was recording these videos that my video was actually blocking a portion of the output, so I just reversed it. Everything else is the same though. So let's start by just selecting all of the columns from our NASDAQ stock price table. So let's go neon DB, public, then NASDAQ price history. Okay, and we're going to say where the symbol, and remember you have to be explicit because of how this is written, or how this is actually housed in the actual table, so you have to use your double quotes and your proper casing, is in, you've already learned the lookup list, AAPL, Google. Okay, so let's run this. And we can just execute the SQL script. It is running, and now we have the exact same number of records, 122 records, just like we saw in Excel. Now aggregation, like I said, it's very, very simple. We want to show first, if we come back over to Excel, we want to show the symbol name here, and we want to show the lowest low and the highest high as our values. So let's start with the low and the high. We're going to do exactly the same thing. We can get rid of our asterisk now. So the way we handle aggregation is we wrap the values, the high and the low price that we saw in Excel, with parentheses, and we put a function in front of it. An aggregate function, I should say. The aggregate function is going to be something like min, max, average, sum, and there's other things you could do as well. Count distinct values. Right now, let's start with min and max. So let's just say min, and the column we care about is low. Whoops. So again, we're going to use our double quotes, and we're going to close that, and we're going to say low price. Then we're going to do the same thing for the high, but in this case, we're going to specify the max. So let's say the max, then open parenthesis, double quote, because we have to be explicit with our column names. And we're going to say high, close, double quotes, close parenthesis. And we're going to call this, remember we learned about alias names. We're going to call this the high price. Okay? So let's just run this and see what we get. So we get the low price is $35.50 and the high price is $199.62. Let's see what we get in Excel. So if you look at our results, the lowest price that we have is $35.50 and the highest price that we have is $199.62. These correspond with the Apple stock ticker. However, here we show both Apple and Google. And in our SQL results, we're only showing the overall, which coincidentally both belong to Apple. The lowest low and the highest high both belong to Apple. But we still want to show Google's results as well. So the way we do that, again, coming back over to Excel, we drop the symbol in the rows pane or the rows shelf. We're going to do the same thing. But the way we do that is we just say, the fields that we want to summarize by, in this case the symbol, we just put it right before our aggregate functions. Then we have to add one more thing, and we have to add a group by, which just says group by the symbol. Then within each symbol, it gives me the minimum low and the maximum high. So we're going to run that, and let's see what we get. Apple, $35.50, $199.62, and Google, $50, $34, and $151. Let's see if that matches. Apple, $35.50. Let's actually go side by side. Apple, $35.50 is the low, $199.61 is the high. Google, $50.34 is the low, and $151.54 is the high. So it works. We also have some additional functions. Some of these will come and play a little bit later. Particularly the count function is very important because we're going to actually use that when we do duplication checking, when we actually start getting into table joins. Counting is just going to count the number of records. If you remember, we had 122 records in our output. So we're just going to do count star. And that's just going to say count all of the records. And we're going to close with parentheses and we're going to say number of records. Okay. Then we're going to do a new column, and let's say we want to count the distinct months within the time period. So we're going to do count, then inside of the parentheses, you're going to say count distinct. So you're going to insert this distinct within the count, and then you're going to say date. And this is going to give you number of months in history. So you're going to see how many months have we actually tracked in this output. Okay, then finally, let's add sum. And let's say for the sum, we want to total the volume. So we're going to say how many shares have we sold over this entire time period. So now we've got exactly what we have here, the symbol, the low price, the high price, and now we've just added the number of records, and they should total to 122. We also have how many months are in scope. We know we have about 5 years of data, so we should see about 60 for each Apple and each Google. Remember, you want to think about what your expected result is and make sure that it makes sense before you actually run it and send your results off. Then you want to total the number of shares sold, which lives in the volume column. We forgot something. We forgot an alias name. Actually, let's leave it out for now. We're still grouping on the symbol, and let's run our results. So we have Apple, Google, nothing changed on the low price and the high price for either Google or Apple. The number of records is 61 for each. So 61 times 2 is 122. That's exactly what we expected to see. The number of months in history actually is 61. I said we should see about 60 But I think based on when we loaded this data, we probably had an extra month because I think we just did a 5-year look back from the date that we loaded it. So we probably picked up an extra December back in 2017. Then this is the total number of shares that we saw. Notice one thing, we have a nice clean label for each column, right? Symbol, low price, it's clean, it's proper case. We've got a space separating low and price. Same with high price, number of records, number of months in the history. But some, it just says some. And that is because we did not put a alias name. Actually, I see something else. So let's say total shares sold. So now we could be, again, explicit with how we want to label this. So when we do an output, we want to have a nice clean label so we don't have to do it in Excel or Google Sheets or wherever this data is going to go. You notice I forgot the as here. Doesn't matter. As is optional. I usually put it in there just so it kind of breaks it up a little bit. But you'll notice we still got the desired result. It says number of months in history, and it was missing as. So technically, you don't need it. But like I said, I like to do it. Keeps it pretty clean. And that's aggregation in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free learning opportunities. Visit our website at datacoaching.io to set up a free personalized consultation. We'll be offering private, group, and corporate options, and follow us on LinkedIn for special announcements. Thank you.